Time has gone 8 minutes after 6 o'clock, and it's a very good evening to you. Welcome to it. This is our special broadcast, and it's brought to you courtesy of Government Communication and Information System, the GCIS, together with the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. You and I together all the way through to 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock rather, and we're going to be exploring some of the most spoken about topics, especially at this time of the year. And we're going to be discussing a topic that's called how to access services of the Sexual Offences Courts and Thuthuzela Care Center. And I'm very delighted in the studio. I'm having Ms. Kamogelo Lekubu-Wilderson, and she's the Director of Victim Support and Specialised Services coming from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. And we're going to be having Ms. Carina Coetzee, the Senior Public Prosecutor for Sexual Offences, on the line. And as soon as she's on, we'll definitely bring her up to speed and make her part of the conversation. My name is Karabolans. I'm very delighted to have you with me. You can reach us by way of telephone if you want to take part in our program this evening. It is very easy. It's a toll-free number. It's 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. We're going to be opening up our social media platforms as well for you to take part in. And if you want to maybe send your questions or comment through your social media platforms, we're available on Facebook, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. On Twitter, it's at DOJ&CD _ZA, at DOJ&CD _ZA on Twitter. And that's where you can get us. Join us. Hashtag Let's Talk Justice. Conversation is on from now on up until 5 minutes past 7 o'clock. O ka bolela ka leleme le leng gore o ka khona go bolela ka lona ga ile gore mohlomongwe o ka nyaka go bolela with in any of the Sesotho languages. You're more than welcome to do that. Uma ufuna ukukhuluma any of the Nguni languages, isiZulu, isiXhosa, and the rest, you're more than welcome to do that. Any of the 11 official languages, nawe ungaba ingle yalo hlelo lethu namhlanje. 0800 142 446. Let me know, waste any further time. Kamogelo back in the studio, and I've said to her earlier on, it's been quite a while, hey?
Yes, it's been quite a while. I was here last week, but
with me. Quite a while with me.
With you,
right.
Quite a while with you.
Yeah.
So, but I've been with community radio stations through this program.
Yeah, I was temporarily fired by Linda last week. He gave me a bit of a, what do they call it? What he calls a technical leave. I don't know what that is all about. I still have to find out exactly. After the show, I'll definitely speak to Linda about that. But one thing that I'm looking forward to be finding out is how to access services of the Sexual Offences Court and the Thuthuzela Care Center. All right, let's talk about the Sexual Offences Court. Where can one find them? Let's start there, maybe.
Yes, Karabo, I'll just give a bit of background and to say to listeners, the Department of Justice has embarked upon a program to upgrade certain courts within magisterial districts that are regional courts to be sexual offences courts. Basically, the aim of the project, since it started in 2013, was to ensure that we've got a number of courts that have victim support services that connect to other victim support services that are provided to victims of sexual offences. And these sexual offences courts basically have introduced specific support services that are infrastructural, as well as human resource and information-based services to victims within the existing courts. So it's not like we're building a new court that is going to deal with sexual offences only. We're taking the existing regional courts, upgrading them, making sure that they have tones that enable a victim who is traumatized by sexual offences, because they are basically violent in nature, to be at ease, to be within the court environment.
All right. But besides that, what is the other importance of having these courts focused? For instance, like you're saying, the existing courts, but what we're trying to do with them, we're taking the existing ones and this is what we're doing with them. But what is the importance of that move?
The importance of really introducing infrastructural, information-based, as well as specialized human resources within those courts, is to ensure that we deal with secondary victimization.
Right.
We actually reduce and eliminate secondary victimization of the victim when they come to court. Secondly, we ensure that the victim's trauma is lessened or eliminated, so that when they give evidence in court, they're able to give evidence in court as strong witnesses who do not break down and end up leading to the case being postponed because they can't give evidence further. And the third thing is that we're trying to make as far as possible the court case cycle time, the time it takes to hear the rape case or a sexual offense case within the court to be shortened. Because the more stronger the witness is, they'll be able to give their evidence within a short period of time and therefore help the court to fast track the period within which they finalize the case. So those are the three main aims or objectives of us having these courts. If I have to tell you about the changes that we have brought, if a victim comes to court, and it's an experience of all victims that come to court, it's a foreign environment.
Of course, yeah.
It's a cold environment. It's a very formalistic environment. It has a lot of people. For justice to take place, you've got a lot of role players. You've got a judge, you've got a prosecutor, you've got an attorney for the accused. You have clerks of the court who work in the court to make sure that the evidence as it's recorded is properly recorded. You've got the interpreter. So as you come there, you need to be kind of familiarized with who is doing what, so that you're not perplexed and kind of, if you're giving evidence, thrown off as to what are you supposed to say to who. So the information support that we provide is provided in the form of either pamphlets that you will receive in the waiting areas that are provided within the courts, or the National Prosecuting Authority, through their court preparations officials, will prepare you to make you familiar with the court process and the various roles of the various role players who are there. Because if you don't understand the process, last week I was saying that a court is like a tennis match. You almost see people going left and right, left and right. And for you to be a credible witness, you need to have your wit throughout the course. You need to be able to remember what you said a few seconds ago, so that there's consistency in your evidence, because justice lies in how credible is this evidence that we're having. Does it stick against the accused? And boy, if you've got a traumatized witness or a witness who does not really understand the rules, it's very easy that
can be
a
discredited,
case a person might not be found guilty on a technicality because for a split of a second you said something different from what you said before, and it makes your evidence incredible, or unreliable. So we try as much as possible to bring the victim to a point where they are familiar with what is done in court, whose role, how the court process is going to go, and how they should respond. Like, if you know that you cannot remember, a particular fact, you are allowed. You need to know that I cannot remember. You need to tell the court that I cannot remember, but say what you know. So those issues are pretty critical to sexual offences, precisely because the victims are traumatized and probably they are up to really breaking down, either in terms of their memory or in terms of their emotions during the court case.
Right, 0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. I'm very delighted to have on the line, like I said earlier on, we're going to be joined by Ms. Carina Coetzee. She's the Senior Public Prosecutor for Sexual Offences. She's likely to be with us up until the bottom of the hour, 6:30. Maybe let me just bring her in now as it is, so that she can have her bits and help us understand what we're here for this evening. It's a very good evening to you, Carina. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I have to say I didn't hear the previous conversation because, oh no, I just didn't hear it. So if you can just put me in tune with what we're talking about.
No worries. We've just established what we're talking about this evening. Of course, the access to services of the Sexual Offences Courts and the Thuthuzela Care Centre. That's the main discussion for this evening. But where I would like you to come in, Carina, is maybe just paint a picture of us of the trauma. How does trauma play a role? I mean, Kamogelo has just touched a little bit on it, but as a prosecutor, how does trauma play a role in terms of a victim's success in being in court?
Actually, trauma plays an immense role. And if trauma is not contained before the witness testifies, the witness would not be a very good witness. Mm-hmm. In fact, trauma, it plays an immense role, even in character.
Right.
A witness can come across as a completely different person to what they were before they experienced trauma. And that goes for male and female.
Right. I wonder, when we're talking about this, something that comes to my mind is the whole issue of a victim maybe say being taken advantage of because of the trauma that they're experiencing. I wonder if that happens. I wonder if that's allowed, which brings me to my next question about the limits in which the prosecution could really, say, cross-examine a already traumatized victim. To what limits can they can they do that? Do we have limits in terms of that?
You see, that's a very interesting question. Now, adversarial legal system, of course, the defense has ample opportunity to cross-examine the witness on every aspect. So, really, court preparation and trauma containment means a lot for a witness to prepare that witness for cross-examination. Cross-examination is secondary victimization. I mean, in our legal system, you have to, unfortunately, or fortunately, allow it, because what we do want is we do want guilty people to go to prison and not guilty people to walk free. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, I mean, that's part of the legal process. There's nothing you can do about it. And it's definitely not a rewarding experience for a witness, or for the victims as such. But though I have had victims telling me that the whole court process and being able to face the perpetrator and tell the perpetrator he has done wrong, and that they know, the victim knows the perpetrator has done wrong, is very healing for them. And I know people that didn't go through that process, though it is secondary victimization. You can't deny that. It's an awful process for a victim to go through cross-examination, but it is, to some extent, healing. Being able to face the perpetrator and tell the perpetrator, I know that you have done wrong to me. You and I know you have done wrong.
0800 142 446. That's 0800 142 446. It's gone 22 minutes after 6 o'clock. Welcome to it. If you've just joined us, the name is Karabolans. Stolana Saba Pedil Matebele, Tabalawalo, Nambo Chumbialono, Rabela Moka, Oka, Oka, Tusho, Ranga, Lorum Krumwe on Umu victimia sexual offences, or Umumwa by Longoro, Batwas Shabeloba, Katiwa, sexual offences in its variety. Tusho, Okaikra, Rang, Okaikra, Kai, Kemang. We're going to be talking about the Sexual Offences Courts as well as the Thuthuzela Care Centers. The Thuthuzela Care Centers so 800 142 446. Let's talk about the there was a movie, Carina, that I saw, and somebody might be laughing at me and say, "Well, that we're talking about reality and we're not talking about movie." But it was something that was very interesting that one character said on that movie, and he said, "It is not what you say or it's not what you know, is what you can prove." So how true is that statement in life?
No, in court it's definitely true. And, no, of course you have to prove everything. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening.
You have to prove everything that you allege. So that is the way that our legal system works. But yes, a proof can be found. Proof can be found.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And proof can be in direct evidence. In the victim's evidence is proof, of course. And proof can be found. So it's not an insurmountable obstacle.
Is there a so-called unacceptable evidence in court? Do we have anything like that?
Well, we have inadmissible evidence. So if something is irrelevant, it would be inadmissible. So character evidence, for instance, would be inadmissible because it's irrelevant, unless, So we do have evidence that is irrelevant and therefore inadmissible.
Right. All right, we're going to be opening up the telephone lines now quickly, and let's hear what the listeners have got to say. There's just an immense amount of questions that I still need to cover in terms of getting ourselves exposed to the sexual offences courts as well as the Thuthuzela care centres. We're going to be finding a little bit more about that. But let's take a caller quickly on the line. Here's Patco calling all the way from Elwell North, listening via Takalani Community Radio. Good evening to you, Patco.
Meneer, hoe gaat dit?
Dat gaat rechtig baie goed, meneer. En wat met u?
Ja, het is goed ook bij mij kan mee, broer, maar ik hoest te veel nog. Mijn borst is ook niet recht nog.
Je borst is niet recht. Ik wonder wat je nog gedaan hebt.
Die wind is kwijt gewaaid, die naar wie zo nog. Deze kom nog, ik hoest te veel.
Alright.
Ben ik aan de borst.
Yeah, you utaba strong. I don't know how to say that in Afrikaans. Jy sal nou strong wees. Jy sal sterk wees. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, the beauty of South Africa.
Ik ben met Kamogelo, met Carina Coetzee. Okay, kom eens wat kala, ne?
Yeah.
Kibata, okay, ik jullie beste man, we wa NPA me kiman Carina.
Ja.
Me Carina, ik wil maar even nog. Ons heeft die Thuthuzela care center. Hier bij die plek waar we play. Mijn vraag is er nog. Als jullie zeker nog, die mensen wat daar is, de Thuthuzela care center. Er is dan nog safe. Want een van die daar, die personen wat die personen hier gemaakt hebben. Ik ga meteen voorkant springen van nog. Die mensen wat altijd die securiteit nog kijken. Aan de tijd nog, alleen lopen en zeggen, oké, kom ik gaan bij die winkel. Dat mag iets gaan kopen. Die personen gaan in nog. Die verkracht je die personen. Als de securiteit terugkomt, die personen is niet meer weer daar. Dat is mijn eerste vraag. En dan, elandila, ja man, me Kamogelo.
Okay.
Kamogelo. Die wat zou teba horen. Hoe die sexual offenses talang. Die wat zou teba, hij moet toch, oké. Kiboni, Ndadiseng ula bitwa kiphadko after mubitile and then ute mutu emungu aboning ake muchina akiba athi na unthabu paki ayibe liyatha uyena le batho bamlawo akiba athi nix awuna nix enkopela lintweni ufumana ngentwena iletsela with the villages ayetsa itsikamani badule ba le kaofela ke bontate ba ngwana ile ya ba victim utlwa mono ufumana gore ba yamani o di khosi ba bolele gore oh re buile ntwena a re batho mapolisa kene e tla nyenyefatsa hloya lapalani kapo lapalani and then alright ke a tshepa ke tsona tse pedi hobane ye ya motho sa batloletsa ka evidence ke ile ka e butsa le yona ke tsona fela ntataka.
Thank you so much, Patco. Ndiyabulela tata. Dankie baya. There we go, 27 minutes after 6 o'clock. Let's take another caller quickly before we answer those questions. And coming from KZN, listening via Tutuga Community Radio. Thank you so much to the guys, Bosi Mo. They're doing an absolutely amazing job. Here's Usismoneni Masigo. Sismoneni?
Yebo, sanibona njani?
Siyaphila kunjani ma?
Ngaphila ngilalela uSiyathuthuka FM. Owami umbuzo ngicela ukubuza ukuthi kuyakwenzeka kumhlawumbe khona ingane yayireshiwe then kwaba khona ikhesi yabakhona then ikhesi ibuye kwesikhathi kuthiwe idokode alibonakala ikhesi igcina iphele kanjalo ukuthi umthetho odlala
Your call has been placed on hold. Please wait.
Okay. Ngizocela uphinde lo mbuzo wakho mama.
Ukuthi uma ngabe mhlawumbe ufake ikhesi ye-rape yengane kwesinye isikhathi uthole ukuthi i-rape ikhesi leyo igcina iphele kanjalo kuthiwa idokode alibonakali ukuthi suke sebenzeke njani ngoba mhlawumbe uthole ukuthi lo muntu obukade egcabene naye mhlawumbe unabantu awu-connection ngaphakathi uthole ukuthi idokode kuthiwa alikho egcine ihlala liphele kanjalo.
Okay. Ngiyabonga ma. Ngiyabonga sizawuphendula umbuzo wakho sisiboneni coming all the way from listening via Thuthuzela Community Radio rather. And here's George, our last caller in this batch of calls. Let's take the last one. George calling from Atteridgeville. Good evening to you, George.
Evening, Karabo. Good evening, Kamogelo, le Carina. Two questions. The process the process report sexual assault and also do you have any maybe like a child-friendly sexual offences through your courts?
Thank you so much, Brother George, all the way from Atteridgeville. Really appreciate it. That's the two questions from him. So 0800 142 446. We also are available on the on the Twitter as well. It is DOJ_ZA. That's at DOJ_ZA. On Facebook is the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Carina, I know you gotta go. Let me ask you one last or two more questions quickly. We've had a caller wanting to find out how can safety be ensured to those people that are in the Thuthuzela Thuthuzela care centers rather. Carina, you can answer that. Maybe you can answer that as well if you want to jump in there. Carina?
Hello. Thuthuzela care centers are actually one-stop care centers. Mm-hmm. So in other words, you can access medical assistance, you can access your ARVs, you can access your, prophylaxis, maybe not ARVs, but prophylaxis. You can access your whatever you need. And you get referrals of the cost from there to trauma containment, depending on how much your trauma is for your family as well as yourself. So, but then again, it depends. And then, of course, the Thuthuzela Care Centre would also give you the opportunity to open a police docket. And then, of course, it depends on the police to arrest. So, under certain circumstances, the police don't arrest immediately because they don't know who the perpetrator is. So, yes, it can be on occasion where the perpetrator would be seen by the victim. Mm. But depending on who the victim is, the perpetrator would get bail in the interest of justice or not. So, I mean, it's usually intellectual, legal questions that needs to be answered and it needs to be argued in lengthy heads of argument. But yes, those are valid questions, but the fact still remains that the Thuthuzela Care Centres can't affect arrest or take someone off the street. The fact is that depends on the police.
And maybe the last one, and I know, Meglawile, you want to jump in there, but just hang tight. I'm going to come to you now. I just want to release Carina quickly. The last one to you, Carina. As far as witnesses are concerned, we've heard witnesses who are saying, listen, I don't want to be part of, I know I was there, I know I saw everything, but I don't want to be part of this. Please don't call me to court. How far can we go to make sure those people give their account to our witnesses in terms of subpoenas and all of that? How does it work? Can we force somebody to give evidence in court?
Yes, of course. We've got Section 205 in the Criminal Procedure Act, where you can get oral evidence from someone, documentary evidence, cell phone evidence, anything. And I mean, that's how we summons court bank documents, we summons cell phone records in terms of 205, but you can also summon someone to give oral evidence in front of a magistrate that can be recorded, that has been witnessed, and they do face certain repercussions if they don't attend. So yes, we can force it. We should use it more often because I think that's a very, very, that really makes crime flourish by the fact that people tend to just look away and ignore the fact that they need to be witnesses in court. But yes, there is a way, as I say, through Section 205 in the Criminal Procedure Act to force them to.
Carina Coetzee, Senior Public Prosecutor, coming from for sexual offences, and we're glad that you've spent some time with us, Carina. Let me let you go. I know that you were to give us 15 minutes, but thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye-bye.
All right, cheers.
Bye,
That's Carina Coetzee. All right.
I think I think we need to go back to the question that Patco asked around security. How secure are the Thuthuzela care centers? See, the Thuthuzela care centers are established within our health establishments, within hospitals.
Right.
And they are one-stop centers where you will find a policeman, or the coordinator will ensure that for a statement to be provided, the policeman is called to take the statement, or the FCS investigating officer connected to the Thuthuzela Care Center is someone to take evidence. A health practitioner will come and take the necessary evidence for forensic evidence sake.
Also physical evidence.
Yes.
Right.
And then you've got a coordinator or the case manager. So you've got all these service providers providing services at a single center. So that's the beauty of the Thuthuzela care centers. And we've got about 55 of them at the present moment. We are progressively, together with other role players, establishing them so that the victim does not go to the police. After the police goes 30 minutes or sometime goes to health, and then from there goes to social services. We ensure that in that one moment that you come for services,
You get everything.
you get as much as possible, including crisis counseling. How secure are they? Because they are within a government facility, a hospital.
So
they are security
they're not,
personnel.
you can't find them outside. We don't have any of them outside a hospital
we don't
setting.
have an official Thuthuzela care center outside of a hospital's facility because it's a service provided by the criminal justice system, and the infrastructure is placed within hospitals precisely because or health facilities, because they are mostly nearest to. They are there in most communities. Sexual offences, in the same vein, are not available in all the courts in South Africa, but they're being progressively established in particular areas. And we have started by looking at areas with a high rate or high volumes of sexual offences to ensure that as we progressively establish them, at least where there's crisis, we have covered. And the second thing, the nature of a sexual offense is such that you will find infrastructure that is helpful for the victim. What is that infrastructure? You would find that we have a child waiting room, an adult waiting room, we've got a testifying waiting room, which separates, in most cases, it's not in all courts because some of our infrastructure is so old that we cannot modify it, but we try to cluster all these services within one area so that when the victim comes from a prosecutor's office or comes to see the court preparations officer, they are going to a facility next to the court that they will be using. So when they wait in court for their turn to give evidence, they do not have to mix with the accused, because that's where the trauma re-traumatization comes place. Can you imagine this person has threatened that if you go to court, I'm going to kill you?
And now you're in court
or
and he's
they
there.
are with their families or people who are there to really intimidate you because it's a hostile environment. You can, at that moment, decide that what I'm facing whilst waiting to give evidence is not what I'm bargaining for, and as a result, I'm going to withdraw or I'm going to move away. So by making sure that we've got these facilities that at least to some extent help separate the distance between the accused and the victim or witnesses, then that sense of safety is established in the mind or of the victim or a witness. So that's why this is important. Security is important. And thank you, Patrick, for asking that question. The second question that I wanted to to respond to is that was asked earlier on around what kind of evidence is critical. You know, the difficulty about sexual offenses is that the sexual act itself is never done in public. So as a result, we normally rely on
The
witnesses.
victim's account. Oh.
Yeah, on witnesses to corroborate what the complainant or the victim has said. So with sexual offenses, there's a difficulty presented to start with. But that does not mean that the prosecutors cannot prove. There could be circumstantial evidence and other evidence such as DNA evidence that will assist to corroborate the evidence that the witness gives. So that evidence, most evidence that is in your knowledge, you should present it as truthfully as far as possible. Hence, earlier on, I was saying, if you don't remember a particular version of the events, you should be able, as a witness, to say, I don't remember, but what I remember is ABC.
All right, before we go on, let me take Sfundo. I'm just afraid Sfundo is holding on to the line for pretty long. I don't want to keep him there. Sfundo, good evening to you. You calling from Ladysmith?
Hello, good evening. How are you? Thanks. Firstly, let me just thank for the opportunity to give us this kind of a topic, especially movies in terms of the but how do they assure it training in terms of case for them not to feel secondary victimization? And if you can really question your sense of any, but I also want to know, for me, being in Ladysmith, where are your centers? Is there one in Ladysmith, and how visible are they? How child-friendly are they? Those are my questions. Thank you.
I'm afraid it's Sfundo calling all the way from Ladysmith, and I believe we've got Tsepo on the line listening via Live FM. Good evening to you, Tsepo. Legandad. Dumela ra re bethile batho mabane ba re tla bua ka yona. We'll talk about it at the end of the show. What is your question?
Okay.
I heard Tsepo. Tsepo.
Please.
Victim is Casey high for the police station. Half as a reporter case from a police in the similar service or the service I Casey for the whole investigate to a Iago court. And then got out to the Habor. The service are generally SAPS. Trying the SAPS, the service and the one in case you and 3% of the banana. But I can
yes, Kate.
Okay. Yabu, more case in your the minor Z2. Another one is a victim, another one is a perpetrator. So, but keep in mind about it. So I didn't mind about it. I think somewhere, somehow, but also support about it, maybe. So, one turns off another thing. The service I am the Baluki, the service I am about it.
Okay.
Right, thank you so much, Bratepo. Listening via Live FM, we really appreciate it. 18 minutes before 7 o'clock, 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. Baba Marwadi Stone on the other side of the studio. Not a busy driver, you know, these people. Simona, yeah, you better watch those questions coming on Facebook and Twitter. Otherwise, the story says to come. Right. 0800 142 446. Let's go back to those questions. Kamogelo.
The two questions are asked around children, whether the facilities are child friendly,
Right.
and what do we do to ensure that a child can give evidence within the court. The third one is what happens in the instance where both the victim and the perpetrator are minors. I'll answer them as such. When you go and report a case at SAPS, the specialized forensic social workers who are appointed basically to help investigating officers within family violence, child protection, and sexual offences investigation unit. They're specialized police investigators to get evidence from a child. So you will not find the investigator ordinarily interviewing the child. And let me say, this is a desirable case, but we do not have sufficient forensic social workers to cover all the police stations, but they try as far as possible that in cases that involve children, a forensic social worker works hand in hand with an investigating officer. Then when you come into the sexual offences courts, there are child-friendly facilities. The first one, we try to make our waiting facilities child-friendly so that a child, when they're in court, they don't get anxious. They're able to do what a child does when they're sitting and playing and fooling around. So as far as possible, we'll have books, we'll make the waiting area to have colors that are child-friendly, we'll make toys available, we'll have, in some courts, they even make chalkboards because children like writing. They should be able
on the
to
walls.
write, but you know that this is a wall that you can go and write on. So it's important that the child comes into the court as a child and lives as a child, not as a traumatized person.
Right.
Then the third issue is that over and above that, when they are in court, now when it's time to provide evidence, children do not talk the same language as adults. On top of that, there's court language and ordinary language. So it's important when the child is asked questions from a legalistic language that there is somebody who can explain this foreign language to a child in a child language. And there's a person who will be able to take the language of a child and interpret it back into the court language.
Would that be an interpreter?
That is the, yes. It's we provide human resource, a specialized person who knows how to understand, who understands child language and will be able to say, okay, what you have said is that tonono ya papa papa umphile tonono ya hae. How re tonono, what do you mean? O tla nka maybe an anatomical doll and give it to the child and say, this is papa, this is when. Now what is tonono? And you know that language that she uses will be demonstrated by the intermediary. And at that time, the other facility that we have will be a CCTV. And as the child demonstrates what he or she means, then the court is able to get the evidence directly. If we don't have the intermediary, you stand a chance of the child being on the witness stand over a long period of time, getting exhausted and frustrated. And it is, in most often, children are very vocal. They'll just tell you, I'm tired of you asking me the same question 100 times. I'm no longer giving evidence. And when they clamp down, they close. If the child says, I'm no longer going to respond, there's nothing that anybody can do. So with an intermediary, it mediates the length of time of questions, because they'll be able to explain what the child says in a language that the court can understand. And remember, sometimes some of the role players, the judge might not be a judge who understands the child language. So the intermediary would also be kind of understanding one of the 12 languages or even the foreign languages, and is able to kind of relay. They don't interpret, they relay the child's evidence. The interpreter still stands there to interpret if it is necessary. Then we also have physical resources. I talked to closed circuit CCTV system. Why we have these, we have a resource called a testifying room. If a child is giving evidence and they are so traumatized, they don't want to see the perpetrator, then we're able to keep them in the testifying room, and they don't have to, at any point in time when they're in court, to go to court to face the person, the perpetrator. So when the child comes in, we put her at ease. We also even indicate that this space is protected, there's security. We even demonstrate that we are now looking to ensure that this person is not going to come in. This person is not going to come in. So we use those methods to make sure that there is security, the child is at ease, and the child does not have to go into court to identify the perpetrator or to be in contact.
That's with the child, though. But I wonder, and before we go to Maritzburg, where Mark is waiting for us, we'll take Mark now in a short bit. But I wonder, the CCTV system, can it also be used for adults as well, of course?
Yes, it can. In terms of the Criminal Procedure Act,
they are allowed to.
If the victim is so traumatized by the sexual offense that they have been assessed not to be able to feel safe, then an application will be made for her to give evidence via the testifying room.
Right.
But it's a special arrangement that has to be made, and the judge makes a decision that, yes, in this case, we can allow the victim to give evidence from a testifying room.
All right.
Questions about two minors should not be left out.
All right, we're going to come to those now. I've just got Mark on the line. Mark is calling from Maritzburg. Mark, let's take you quickly, and Siskamo will go back to some of those questions that we've left out. Good evening to you, sir.
Good morning.
Mhlawumbe ngivewa nokuthi good morning manje I'm confused ke andlalanga mhlawumbe ndiyabulela mhlekazi.
Ngilalele kumgungundlovu 107.6 FM, the sound of choice of KZN Capital.
Okay.
Engifuna ukwazi mina ukuthi lezi indawo lezi ama-Thuthuzela centers uhulumeni kuphi akwenzayo ukuthi kube khona ukuphepha khona, ngoba sekaningi sibuka izehlakalo zivela ku-TV ezenzeka eThekwini. Abantu laphana kuthatha abantu abakulama center bagadiswe emagethini, umuntu obegula agadiswe. Okunye kuvela izolo ukuthi la endabeni abanye badliswa ukudla osekonakele, oseku-off lezi ndawo bayasetshenziswa labantu. Ikuphi akwenza ukuthi kube khona abasebenzi aba-professional abaqashwe uhulumeni bebona abasebenza kulama Thuthuzela centers ukuze kube khona ukuphepha. Abantu bayadlwengula kulama center. Ukuphepha kungakanani khona, kunakela kangakanani masithatha indini ethi sisa kulezi ndawo. Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Ngiyabonga mfethu, ngiyabonga ukuthi nawe uke wasifonela 0800-142-446. Masikhulume noTebogo. Tebogo calling all the way from Riverside. Good evening to you, Tebogo.
Dumela Karabo, and to your guest. No, I want to first just congratulate the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development for these informative programs that are broadcasted on community radio, because these are the stations that really reach the most of the disadvantaged communities.
Absolutely.
that are in rural areas most of the time. My question, and in appreciating the messaging on community radio, is over and above these campaigns, for example, that we are now broadcasting, what else does the department do to ensure that more people know about these Thuthuzela centers and the sexual offences courts? Because more often we are accused as a country of having good policies, but the majority of the citizenry does not necessarily know about good laws, policies, and such establishments like the Thuthuzela centers, where they can always go to seek for help and seek legal advice to ensure that their rights are not trampled upon.
All right, thank you so much, Debo Hall, listening via Riverside Radio. Really appreciate it. We're going to take Thabo as the last one. Thabo, let's take Thabo quickly from Zebediela. Good evening to Thabo. Tibos? Le kae na? Moshito o tswela pele.
Go na le taba ke dingwe a re di bolela ke re batho ba na le go kwana ge ba yela ke tsa thobalano ke ya ba ya fetsa le gore ka morago mosadi ola a e bula molato
right
a fetsa gape a go ya o phumula e fitlha jwang gore motho o le reng ba mmuletse molato o kantshediwa ska ba a ba le record ya gore nkile a bulelwa molato wa di-sexual offences gona fa o ke mo ba ka mphitišang gona mo wa kgonagala gore motho a phumile molato na tle o phumulege motho a ska ba a dia ka re gantši re bona ge ba phumula e la gore ba swarane ka matsogo ge ba botse di-protection order ga o le fang
right okay re tla bona gore re seka jang Thabo akere
thank you.
0800 142 446. It's 6 minutes before 7. We've got about 10 minutes to go. So let's see how quick we can go through these. Mekamu, do you want to go back? And yes, let's start with those that you wanted to answer.
Sepo also asked the question of when does the case of sexual offences actually come into court? I think that was the question. Ideally, when you go to report at the service center, the police stations are called service centers, you will have a person taking a statement. It's not a full statement. It's a summary statement. In cases of sexual offenses, this is how it happens. Summary statement. After that, and when they take a statement, if it's a sexual offenses, they should take your statement from a victim-friendly room, meaning that you shouldn't give a statement about the rape in a open space where other people are coming, because that interferes with the capacity of a person to be as detailed or to give clean information. So there are what we call victim-friendly rooms where you will be taken and that summary statement will be taken. But it is taken so that you can be linked to a FCS investigating officer. It's called Family, Child Protection and Sexual Offences Investigating Officer, who knows how to handle these type of cases, who has been trained to be sensitive in taking the evidence on this type of cases. So then the case will be transferred to this investigating officers, or this person will now visit you to take a full statement. If you go to report at a Thuthuzela care center, the coordinator will call either a police officer, or if there is an FCS investigator connected, to come and take a statement at the Thuthuzela care center.
I think that answers George's question as well.
So once sufficient evidence is gathered and we say the case is court ready, then it is lodged with the NPA.
Right.
Throughout the case, in the case where there's a Thuthuzela care center, there'll be a case manager who knows what kind of evidence is required. And by the time the case goes to court, to the prosecutor, to the senior prosecutor, then it is case court ready and it will be placed on the court roll.
Okay.
Now you've got the NPA taking the case from the police officers, studying the case to see, is there sufficient evidence for us to can prosecute? If there's sufficient evidence to can prosecute, then they hand it over to the magistrate, the judiciary.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, these two people are not supposed to influence each other. So once it's handed over to the judiciary decides when to place the case on the court roll, because they've got a diary.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're the ones who have to decide which magistrate is going to sit in this case. And at that time, they'll decide to appoint a magistrate who's familiar or has been trained on sexual offenses or in gender-based violence, so that this person is already sensitized on how to handle a case of sexual offenses. And then that's how the case goes. So I hope that answered your question, Tsepo.
And George as well, by the way.
Yes, and then Tabiso says that there are cases where incidences where a case is withdrawn. Now, I just want to explain the concept of justice and prosecution. And this will link also to that question about a witness who does not want to give evidence, even though they were they saw the deed happening. The prosecution relies on a reliable witness. So a witness in court must provide evidence in a way that we can believe their evidence. Now, if a witness is forced to come to court, we subpoena a witness who says, I don't want to go to court because I don't want anything to do with this case. We can use Section 205, but the danger there is that this witness can become a hostile witness. Remember, we rely on the truth. They can go to court and just decide to say, I don't remember, or contradict themselves. So that presents a problem for prosecution because they don't know how reliable this witness can be. So in most instances, it will depend on what type of a witness is this person. And if it's a witness that could be key, they could break the state's case. And in those instances, most probably the prosecutors will elect not to ask that person to give witness. And in cases where, remember, the complainant is our key witness. If they become hostile, what is it that the prosecutor can do? If you're saying, I was violated on this day, I was wearing this particular thing, and at the end of the day says, I don't want to give evidence against this person, there's absolutely nothing that the prosecutor can do, because they can force you to come unless the prosecution has other circumstantial evidence or other evidence that they can rely on and say that we're not going to rely on your evidence. There's other strong evidence that we can present. Then they can do that. There are certain other types of witnesses that must report cases, like teachers must report a case as soon as they identify that there was a child who was abused or there was a sexual offense that happened against a child. So there are categories in terms of the law that says you are supposed to report, and if you don't report and you are found guilty, you can be found guilty and sentenced to not more than 5 years for not giving evidence. So there are certain categories of witnesses that have legal duty to actually report the case.
All right, we've got about 5 minutes to go, Linda. 5 minutes, Linda says. 3 minutes, he says to me. Okay, we've got 3 minutes. Let's touch on this one quickly. I think we've answered the one working partnership with SAPS. I think as you were explaining there, you touched on your working relationship with the SAPS. But here's an interesting one that I don't want us to miss, where there's two minors involved, one victim, one perpetrator.
Yeah. In terms of the Sexual Offences Act, the Constitutional Court has actually ended up with a decision where it says that there are certain categories of children that cannot have sexual relations. Because remember, they used to call Section 15 and 16 of the Sexual Offences Act a kissing law, meaning that it's banning experimentation because there's an age in which children experiment. As a result, the effect of that court case is that where there is a difference in age of 2 years between the perpetrator and the victim, we will bring a case. But where there's less than 2 years.
So it's 2 years and more.
2 years, if they are, 2
years and more, you
yes.
will then proceed.
Like, for instance, between a person who is 15 and somebody who's like 18, but has not yet 17 and not yet 18. Because when you're 18, you're an adult.
Yeah.
So we have to assess by counting months, literally, to say whether it's 2 years full or it's above or less.
But what about 14
But then the ramification is that for both, in any event, because they are children, you are dealt with in terms of the Child Justice Act. So you don't go through the normal route of an open court. There's an investigation. It's less, formalistic, and there are reports that are provided, and there's an opportunity for either for both the victim and the perpetrator to go through an alternative dispute resolution mechanism. They can be sent to counseling. They can be sent for an educational program. They can be sent for psychological counseling. So there are those various things that can be done for cases where both children are minors. But it's very technical as to who can be basically prosecuted if both people are minors.
All right. Where are your office, or where can we find other Thuthuzela care centers in Ladysmith? Do you have ones that are coming to mind, or can we refer them to?
Unfortunately, I don't have off the top of my head, but I think the caller should go through to the NPA website. He will find. The caller can definitely go through to the DOJ website. They will find where the sexual offences courts are. But remember, you can't choose what court you go to. You go to a court in terms of jurisdictional laws. So you will be referred to a court that might not have a sexual offences court.
But you can report anyway.
The case will be heard. You can report anyway, at any subs.
But the case will be heard
in a court, and it might just not be a sexual offences court.
I see.
Because it has not been upgraded
with
those facilities that I talked about. But in cases that involve children, as far as possible, arrangements are made to actually make sure that testifying rooms and CCTV services are made available for cases involving children.
Right. Just the last one, just awareness, radio programs being part of it. Is there any other way that you are bringing awareness of these sexual offences courts and the Thuthuzela care centres?
Okay, we with the sexual offences courts, and I think as well as the Thuthuzela care centres, wherever we have intermediaries, court preparation officers, and Thuthuzela care centres, as well as sexual offences courts, we have, as part of our responsibility, the public education outreaches. So you will have either a quarterly contact, the community will have a quarterly visit. It will be different target groups within the community where either court preparation officials go and explain about the court processes, the court services, support services, and where they can go to get criminal justice services. Because the services are not just for courts and Thuthuzela care centers. It's a chain of services, starting from police, going to social workers, going to health centers, and we are a little bit at the tail end of the spectrum. But people need to know where they can go and what facilities are there, because there's much more just than TCCs and sexual offences courts and victim-friendly rooms. The Social Development Department provides what they call Kuseleka care centers. And whilst they are not specializing in sexual offences, they do provide sensitized services and provide one-stop center. They far as possible operate almost like TCCs.
Yeah.
And TCCs are almost reporting centers. People don't stay there.
Right.
So, it is once in a while where you would find that a victim requires nourishment and food.
Right.
So after you have reported and we've put you through all the relevant officials who must see you, if you cannot go home, they can let you sleep in just overnight, but the following day you are given the opportunity to go back home or placed in a center like where a child reports and fears going back home.
All right. It has gone 9 minutes after 7 o'clock. I think this is where we're going to have to leave it for today. Thank you so much to all the callers who've called in. And we'd like to apologize to those callers who are unable to go through. I've been told the lines were flashing non-stop. We really, really appreciate that. Now, tomorrow in Paarl, there's going to be an event that's taking place there. The 9th of August, we're commemorating Women's Month, and President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver a keynote address. That's happening at the Cape Peninsula. And our Deputy Minister is part of the panel of discussion on how to undo the scourge of sexual offences. Now, I would like you to please join the activities as much as you can taking place across the country. They'll be happening all over the country tomorrow, so be part of it as we pay tribute to Mama Albertina Sisulu in this Women's Month. Thank you so much to my guest for this evening. Give me Kamogelo Lekubu-Wilderson. She's the Director of Victim Support and Specialised Services coming from the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. And earlier we had Ms. Carina, who's the Senior Public Prosecutor for Sexual Offences, joining us. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot, Karabo.
1 hour is not enough, eh?
Not for me. Or not for sexual offences questions.
Don't worry about it. We'll certainly make time for more in the future. We'll discuss it with our colleagues from the DOJ&CD. Thank you so much to Lennox Class. Lennox is Lennox's birthday, by the way, today. So happy birthday.